They've got like 100 5 stars over there. That was Shane Beamer after South Carolina lost to Georgia in Athens in 2021. It was actually a pretty competitive game for an extended period of time, but Georgia just kind of routed them after a while, 40-13 in Athens. I was thinking about that. I was watching Georgia South Carolina a minute ago from the 22 game. And the funniest part to me about that game was the 10-minute infomercial at the beginning of the game talking about how crazy the crowd was at Williams-Brice, which I can riff on that if y'all would like, maybe a little bit later in this. But, is what he's saying still true about Georgia? Or is that just something that coaches say after, is that what they think after getting beat by really talented teams, to just say, hey, they were more talented than us? Because, there's a reason why Georgia's more talented. They're going out and recruiting them. And I think Shane has shown lately, particularly, how well South Carolina has recruited lately. I mean, they're not going to have 100 5-star guys like that. I mean, I think that's a little bit aggressive anyway. But you're allowed to go recruit players, and it's a really important part of football and college sports, generally speaking. But right now, yeah, I mean, like Carolina, right now for the 24 class, they're hanging in there. They're ranked 11th consensus rankings, and they only got 9 commitments. So, this is a little bit strange season for the Dogs with 17 guys. Now, they're way out in front, Georgia, of everybody else, not just because of the 17 commitments, but because of who the 17 are. But when I watch Georgia play, it's evident that they have really good players. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Talk about, Brock Bowers, etc. They have extremely good players, but that just boiling it down to that only is not exclusively a barometer for why they win. They're also extremely disciplined. One play that I watched on South Carolina, Georgia in 22 just now, and sometimes you go back and watch games. Sometimes it's less important. I remember the 22 Carolina game was such a blowout. It was hard to remember what you could really learn about that. But one play, Carolina's opening drive, they kind of had what they wanted. They were going to get a wheel route on Jamon Dumas-Johnson. And Georgia blitzed him instead. And you had Smile Munden, I'm pretty sure, take off on the wheel route with the receiver or the running back or tight end. I can't remember who it was. It wasn't a receiver. But Georgia's well disciplined. They totally know what they're supposed to do on offense and defense. Hey, listen, we're not going to do this forever. Pick up your 2023 preview edition. You get it free when you get Double Dawgs. This offer is not going to last forever. Make sure that you're taking advantage of it. The link is down below. Obviously, I got my Red Zone shirt on today. You can pick up the offer at Red Zone. I ran out of these this past year in 22. So I ordered more, but the orders have been more. So take advantage of it while you can. And folks who are annual subscribers at Dawg Post over on the website, they're getting the magazine for free. So you need to, if you want to grab it before I run out of them, take advantage of it now. Here's what Shane Beamer had to say about Brock Bowers, which I think was, this was a season ago. At Media Days. He said, I remember watching Brock Bowers tape when I was at Oklahoma the first time, I think from a 7-on-7 camp or something like that he went to. Some of the catches he made, he's freakishly talented. And Nick Saban called Brock, I'm trying to remember, he said that he's one of the premier players in college football. I know everybody knows all of the good passes he catches, but he's a good blocker. He does a good job of executing whatever he needs to do for his teammates to have success. And the key word there from Nick is teammates. the other part about and I'm not running Shane down. I'm just pointing out that it's not exclusively about talent. A lot of it is, no question. And the reason why South Carolina has lost to Georgia, let me see what the combined score is because it's not been pretty. By a combined score of 80 something to not much, is because of the talent discrepancy. But Georgia's not, let's see, 88 minus, Georgia's not 60, let's see, Georgia's not 68 points better than South Carolina in a 2-game stretch. I mean, that's a pretty wide. They're not 5 touchdowns more talented than South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina beat Clemson, they beat Tennessee. South Carolina's problem more than anything is they are not consistent, which is a sign of well, to me, it's one of two things, if not a couple. It's a sign of lack of depth, because when you get into a game and you can't kind of hang around, that's when the bottom falls out. And so they can be pretty inconsistent. It also seems to me it's not as good at coaching as what goes on at Georgia, frankly. I mean, if you're consistent, that means that you're playing pretty well most of the time with the talent that you've got, and that's coaching. So I think it's one of those two things. But Georgia's not 5 touchdowns better than South Carolina. And honestly, I mean, this doesn't even count the 20 game. At some stage, Georgia's going to have a big fight with Carolina. They beat Carolina. Yeah, they beat them. They beat them by 30 in 2020. So that was 45-16, and that's not going to continue. I don't think. This game is in Athens, and I think that's another thing that's going to be problematic for Carolina. But it's the first big game for Georgia this season. South Carolina gets to play Carolina to open the season. The quote real Carolina. God, they get all triggered about that. But so South Carolina will have a little bit of a test before Georgia. Georgia's just gonna play 2 schools that they'll run all over. It won't, So I don't know about that, but I do. Let me just say this real quick about Williams-Brice. Listen, Williams-Brice is the stadium South Carolina plays in, and I have been going. I've been there. I've been to games at Williams-Brice, I think, since 1993, actually. Georgia played there in 92 and 4. It can really be a difficult place to play. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, when I go watch at Williams-Brice, it's either been Georgia or Clemson, and those are the 2 teams that South Carolina hates the most. Secondly, their start of games is outstanding. Like, as a atmosphere, it's a very good atmosphere. I wouldn't say it's any better than LSU, Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee. It's probably somewhere around halfway. I would have to do a list of best atmospheres to start games. But South Carolina is, I would say, better than what their team has always been. So we have this. There's always this discussion of South Carolina fans. Georgia fans are way better than South Carolina fans. I mean, that's just what it is. South Carolina doesn't travel to Florida every single season to play a football game. South Carolina did that. The game I was watching a minute ago, it might have been a sellout, but it wasn't full. So, they have very good fans. Clemson has really good fans. These people, they don't have the same type of fans as Georgia fans who will travel the country. You have to remember, Georgia has played in Indiana, Florida, Indiana, California. I'm trying to think of all the places Georgia's played lately. Okay, away. Okay, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, more Tennessee, Florida again, Indianapolis. So that's six different states. Indiana, obviously. South Carolina, that makes 7. Missouri, 8. Mississippi, 9. Kentucky, 10. and then California 11. So in the last 30 games, Georgia's played in 11 different states. And I would say the only place they didn't have the majority of fans was the game in Starkville, which they had a lot of fans. Kentucky, which they had plenty of fans. Missouri, which they had a lot of fans. Obviously, they had the majority in Florida with the Gators. They did not have the majority in Columbia, but they had a lot. When you could hear people cheering for Georgia in the broadcast. In Charlotte, that was about half and half. Nashville, obviously, Georgia had more fans. Auburn, no, but they had a lot of fans there. Jacksonville, again, they had Tennessee. They had in 2021, they had about 15,000 fans there. That's way more than the other team. They were outnumbered in Michigan for sure, and Miami. But I think we all know the reason for that. People were saying, "Hey, listen, they're going to win this game or not. I'm saving my money for Indianapolis." So I don't know that Georgia's intro is anything unbelievable, but I know their close is at Sanford. That's a tough place to play. Only one team has won there since 2017 on the road. You know who it was? South Carolina, not Shane Beamer, South Carolina.